All right, it's just ticked over to 3:30. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining this week's update. I'm here today with Shane Riddle, our Executive Head of IT. Hey, Shane. Shane will be providing an update on some of the new and innovative technologies being introduced at the Y. But first, I'm going to take you through an update for the organisation and some of the latest government announcements. Last week, those of us living in Metro Melbourne and Mitchell Shire returned to stage 3 restrictions, which meant we had to close down many of our services in these areas. I'm sure you all feel like I do, that a real sense of deflation around that. The state government have said, unfortunately, that stage 4 lockdowns have not been ruled out as well. Stage 4 restrictions will be even stricter than stage 3, and the Victorian government have said they will communicate on the weekend with the community if this plan is to go ahead. So regardless of if you live in Metro Melbourne or regional Victoria, I strongly encourage every one of us to continue to be strict and adhere to social distancing rules, practicing hand hygiene, and as Daniel Andrews has recommended, wearing a mask where you can't reasonably social distance. So that could be on public transport or in a supermarket, for example. Studies have recently shown that even when factoring in imperfections and human error, wearing face masks can reduce transmission of coronavirus by about 60%. The slide on the screen shows the impact that wearing a mask can have in reducing transmission of COVID-19, both if you are a carrier, and do remember, if you could be carrying COVID-19 without even knowing it, without any symptoms, or if you're indeed COVID-free. Ultimately, if you are both wearing a mask, this gives you the most protection. There are a number of things to be aware of when wearing a mask correctly. And I am going to demonstrate this because I had to take my mother to hospital for an operation the other day, and I realised that I had been wearing my mask incorrectly. So firstly, before putting on the mask, wash your hands thoroughly or before with soap. And apparently you need to sing to yourself, happy birthday twice. That is the amount of time you need to wash with soap. Place your mask the right way up. So the right way up, you can see that white strip there. That is actually a little bit of bendy stuff that will neatly go over your nose. So before putting that on, you pop it on over your mouth and nose. I hope you can hear me after I start doing this. And tie it behind your ears with the loops to make sure it's snug. Then pop it over your nose and you can meld it into your nose. That's what that is for. And particularly if you've got glasses, put the glasses over the top so you don't fog your glasses up. Don't touch your mask while wearing it. And if you accidentally touch your mask, wash or sanitize your hands. To remove the mask, simply untie it by lifting off the ear loops without touching the front of the mask on your face. And then wash your hands immediately after removing your mask. Regularly wash your mask with soap and water in the washing machine. It's fine to launder it with other clothes. And of course, if it is a disposable one, this needs to be disposed straight away. I believe, sensibly, this isn't a recyclable object. This needs to go into your regular bin, please. I believe at the Y, we are all leaders. And right now, as leaders, we have a responsibility to set an example in our communities. So wearing a mask, although it can feel uncomfortable at first, the more people who wear it, the less weird it's going to feel. And I'm sure you've all noticed around people wearing a mask and it doesn't feel weird at all anymore. You can buy masks online from a lot of retailers now as businesses are realising the importance of the product, or you can head to your local pharmacy or even Bunnings to purchase one. When you return to work, or if you're at work, we will provide you with masks. For example, at State Office, masks are available at reception for everybody who is involved in the filming of Virtual Y. Of course, when they can't reasonably self-isolate or, create that social distancing. Of course, wearing a mask does not replace any other measures we must be taking. It's simply additional to social distancing, hand hygiene, and simply not going out when you don't, whether or not you do have the symptoms. So while we hope to avoid heading into stage 4 lockdown in Victoria, we also await the federal government's next major announcement on Thursday, the 23rd of July. On Thursday, the federal government will be announcing their plans for any further economic support for businesses and individuals during COVID-19. At the Y, we've been constantly advocating for our people, knowing that the sports and recreation industry has been the hardest hit during COVID. In Australia, the number of jobs in sports and recreation has shrunk by 32.5% between March and the end of May. This is the greatest that any of the industries in the nation. By comparison, in the same period, data shows that the number of jobs in the food and accommodation services shrunk by 29.1%. So we've been very hard hit, and I know that you understand that. It's also why we've been advocating, and we've asked our local, our LGA partners to advocate for us too by providing information and letter templates for them to send to their own government contacts, including their own local MPs. Since the federal government announcement will occur next Thursday, we'll be holding our weekly webinar next Friday to allow time to work through any announcements and what they will mean for the Y. Before I provide some sector updates from around the Y, I'd like to also provide an update around our support service staff who are currently working from home. We have, as you know, a small number of people who are working from home in areas like human resources, communications, marketing, risk, safety, and IT. During the 6-week lockdown period, these staff have been requested to take at least 1 week of annual leave during the lockdown period or to work reduced hours. The staff who have worked from home throughout COVID-19 have worked extremely hard and in a completely new, obviously, and very challenging environment. So they really need a break. This also extends obviously to the, or perhaps not so obviously, to the executive leadership team, who will be working reduced hours and or taking annual leave during the lockdown period. So now onto some sector updates. Kingswim. Our Kingswim sites in Canberra will reopen for weekly Learn to Swim lessons from next Monday the 20th for the first time since lockdown began. In Queensland, Term 3 lessons began this week, and the Queensland government has just allowed change rooms to be open as of the end of this week, which is a great step forward. In New South Wales, Term 3 lessons will begin next week. And in both New South Wales and Canberra, we're currently running school holiday program, with Canberra having to add extra sessions as the programs sold out very, very quickly. Recreation. For recreation, we're really proud of our regional sites. They have been incredibly engaged with customers and the positive impact these sites are having on the community. So it's wonderful to see. So 13 of our recreational facilities have opened and remained opened and have moved into phase 2 of our membership reactivation process. That means members now have the option to restart their memberships or keep it on suspension, or they can continue to pay on a pay-as-you-go basis or pay-as-you-use basis. Metro sites are, of course, closed until restrictions are eased, and I really sincerely thank the teams involved in reclosing our centres, communicating with our members and supporting one another through this process. It's an incredibly difficult time, and I think our hearts pour out to everybody involved in that process. YMCA swimming lessons. For the YMCA swimming lessons in regional schools have been given the green light from the Department of Education to resume excursions, which includes swimming lessons. We're working with regional centre managers to map out their upcoming programs under an exclusive facility use arrangement, exclusive to one school that is, as per the current Department of Health and Human Services restrictions in place. That means schools can have an unlimited number of students within that same school in the pool exclusive dedicated to that particular school group. Otherwise, it is still on a 20 per pool basis, except for that one school basis. The team are also workshopping with the regional centre managers to bring back some aquatic programming to their centres. For our metro sites, we will continue to provide ongoing learning engagement material through social media engagement, and that includes edition 3 of Philbert the Frog's Learn at Home activity book. For children's programs, this week has been the first week back of paid childcare, and as expected, families who are utilising the free care arrangements have begun to drop off in attendance at some of the sites, but not all. Last week, our key message for children's programs was to encourage families to not cancel their bookings, as non-attendance will not incur any gap fees. So we're encouraging families to stay booked in, even if they're not attending. And this remains the key message this week. JobKeeper ends on Monday, the 20th of July for the childcare sector, but we are again hoping that the federal government announcement next Thursday will address this sector again now that we're back in lockdown in Metro Melbourne. I'm now going to hand over to Shane for a technology update. Thanks, Shane.
Thanks, Caroline. And before I start, I just wanted to make comment of my background. Being a tech update, I thought I'd add in a nice Minecraft background. So for those Minecraft players, you'll be very familiar with it. So while many of us have been gone back into lockdown, the IT team have been using the quieter period to collaborate with some other Ys around the country to further advance our online booking system, Nabuki, as well as some other initiatives. During the crisis, it's been really important that we share the innovation and collaborate on our resources with other Ys. So far, we've been able to get up around 150 Nabuki booking engines around the country, which has been a fantastic effort. For regional sites that remain open in Victoria, we have moved into phase 2 of the membership, meaning that members can now choose to restart, as Caroline mentioned before, or choose to keep their membership on suspension. For those who have restarted, we're about to introduce a new feature in the online booking process that will recognise them as a member, and there'll be no need to pay at the end of the booking process. They'll just need to go into the centre and display their membership details at the front desk when they go to their activity. We're also working on a spectator app to enable visitors who don't wish to facilitate or to use the facilities, I should say, for themselves, or wish to supervise or be a spectator over a class or an event. For example, children, when they go into swimming, several parents want to come in and watch, or for those parents or spectators that want to watch a child play a basketball game. It's important that we understand and collect their details as spectators. We're starting to trial this app at the South Aquatic and Leisure Centre, and it's really exciting. Once we have a little bit more information around the trial, and we'll be able to share more about this particular application with you. It's starting to become very exciting. One of the really exciting components of it is that South Australian Swimming Association have also shown some interest in using that when it's ready. You might remember back in April when we undertook the complicated process of registering JobKeeper. We engaged the technology agency to help us streamline the process for our staff to apply for the JobKeeper. This involved using technology that would pre-fill a staff member's details, and once completed, would send the form back to us as well as the staff member. The alternative to this process was for the staff member to fill out a form and email it back, which wasn't really a viable option considering the volume and the time restrictions. What we were able to achieve during this process was fantastic. It was done in a really short turnaround. It was a very big undertaking, and the agency that we worked with, Barhead Solutions, this week won the Microsoft Partner of the Year award for that particular project. They're up against 3,000 companies across 100 different countries. So this was a big win, and we're proud to have been involved with this work. And in fact, it was our concept that they used that actually won the prize. So again, very exciting. We'll continue to work with Microsoft and Barhead on future projects involve the architecture and refining and building in new processes for the Y. We've also recently implemented an IVR technology across the phone system for Y services. When a customer calls either a centre or YMS, they are now greeted with an automatic message that provides options to commonly asked questions and queries that will help them self-navigate and find out these items themselves. If the IVR doesn't actually answer their question, they can then be put through to one of our membership services team. This process has been running for a couple of weeks now, and it will continue to be tested, and we'll continue to tweak as we work out what works best for our customer. And I'd like to do a big shout out to Donna Bell, who assisted with doing a lot of the voice recordings, the FAQs. She did a fantastic job. Well done. And finally, we have some cyber awareness training coming up. This will initially be rolled out to support services as a pilot, and then rolled out to the rest of the organisation once we work through some of the detail. Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. And at the Y, we're constantly monitoring the activity across the organisation and understanding what's happening from a security point of view. And also understanding the landscape and the implications of the security landscape that have on us as an organisation. We're not immune to hackers. At the Y, it's quite important that we continue to work at this, and because hackers become smarter and smarter in their processes, and we continually need to be able to match that. A good example of the way we're trying to keep up with them is we're now starting to scan the dark web and identify any YMCA profiles that are for sale. The dark web, for those that don't know, is the underground of the internet. You can go on there and buy pretty much anything that you want that's illegal. And this is a good way of hackers making some income by selling profiles online. We're continually finding profiles that belong to us within the dark web. So, and we see this week in and week out. So if your profile is found, we'll be in touch with you very quickly to ask you to update your details. For those that are invited to the pilot of the cyber awareness training, it will be delivered online and you'll receive a monthly email. That will direct you to a short video, and then you'll need to answer a couple of questions. As cybersecurity is a pretty dry topic, the videos have been designed to be quite comical and fun. And from previous experience, I've found that people begin to look forward to seeing the next video that comes out. So I'm really excited to be rolling this out at the Y. So that's it for the technology update. And now I'll open it up for some Q&A.
Fantastic, Shane. Thank you so much for that update. Love the Minecraft. And a little bit better than the James Bond last time. But anyway, we'll get Shane's backgrounds right. Look, thanks so much. I've got a few questions here, so or a few comments actually. So one says, "Stay well to everyone down south from Queensland." So very nice. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to delete that. Hi, I'm a permanent educator in Early Learning Centre. I'd like to be self-isolated during lockdown period. Can I request no pay leave for 6 weeks? Thank you. Look, I'd say where you feel comfortable, you need to talk to your manager. We're always ensuring that we're doing what is right for each one of our employees. So what I would encourage you to do is to talk to your manager about that. Thanks for the update, Carolyn. Oh, you're an inspirational leader. Thank you. With the recent spikes in Victoria, could some YMCA centres close permanently in Metro Melbourne and Mitchell Shire or suffer major setbacks? Look, at this stage, most of our centres in terms of recreation centres are fully backed by local government. They've made a huge investment in the infrastructure and they're not going to walk away from that at all. And look, similarly, we know that our King Swim and our children's programs and our camping businesses are, incredibly, good businesses and are fantastic in terms of our mission work as well. So we're not walking away from anything without a massive fight. And we're nowhere near that at this stage in terms of walking away from any of that. So, so I just wanted to make sure in terms of those YMCA centres that you're talking about, that you're really rest assured that that's the case, Nisha. Can you please sing Happy Birthday? No, but I did. I had to go and give blood the other day, and that's where I know that that's how it works. But yes, thank you very much for that. Will face masks be required to wear all YMCA recreation and leisure centres? Look, again, the instructions is where you reasonably can't social distance, meaning 1.5 metres away from somebody. So, for example, if you need to give somebody do a temperature check, then you probably, and you're not behind a screen, then I would suggest that you do wear it when it's adult to adult. Where it is in relation to children in a childcare centre, the Department of Education have given us a specific instruction that we don't need to wear masks. So that is really about making sure that the children feel particularly comfortable, because although they're getting familiar with masks and more people wearing it, I think in that environment it's not appropriate, and that's what the Department of Education have demonstrated. So again, where you feel that you can't keep that 1.5 metres, then by all means, use your common sense and wear a mask. Do you think JobKeeper, there is quite a lot of questions about JobKeeper, and there's a couple of questions about wearing masks at work, so I will just dismiss that one there. So this one, JobKeeper. Do you think JobKeeper will be extended past September due to the current loss of income for the Y as a whole? Okay, look, all I can do is say that we, myself personally, Melinda Kroll, all the CEOs around Australia have been advocating for the fact that we are the hardest hit industry at 32.5% decrease in employment, over the last 3 months. And so we are asking for that. We haven't been told no, but of course the government have been quite staunch, even to the other parliamentarians, that they're not going to say anything until the 23rd of July. But what I can tell you is that we are, as a case study, even as late as next Tuesday, going to talk to the government, or Mel Kroll is, to the ministers, Josh Frydenberg, etc., to plead our case one more time. So we're trying our hardest, but it really is in their hands. In regards to staff only working at one site, is the choice of site up to the employee or the employers? I'm talking about rec sites. Look, again, this is about you talking to your manager and ensuring that you get the hours. We're going to be very sensible about this. We want to make sure that you get both your hours and you are only working at one site. I think given the wildfire spread really that we've seen in Victoria, we know how quickly this moves, and we don't want to go back into lockdown. So this is a really key thing that we want to do, is just you're only working at one site, but we will be very reasonable about which site that is, and your personal circumstances. Again, this is another question about wearing masks at work. I've answered that one. Okay, so does JobKeeper end for childcare that are within the gym, swim centre, or just long day care? Now, Martina did answer this last time. So to the extent that you work in creche and we have not been receiving the government, the free daycare, the ECEC, it doesn't apply to you. So it does depend on your personal circumstances. So I would suggest that you talk to your manager and or talk to HR about your personal circumstances there. JobKeeper is ending soon for the childcare sector if nothing changes. What about other sectors, for example, Kingswim, and will it be different for different states? Look, it's a thousand question. I really, my suspicion, and all I can do is say my suspicion is that JobKeeper won't, go away until September for sectors other than childcare. However, what I do know is that there has been a lot of pressure on the government to ensure that we only pay in terms of JobKeeper what you otherwise used to pay. So for some people, you might have worked only, say, 2 hours a week with us, and you're eligible for JobKeeper, and you would be receiving 1,500. There is a lot of pressure for that not to happen from the government, for you to only receive what you otherwise used to receive. So that is all I can say. But again, I'm not the government. All I can say is what they've been talking about in the media. Do we know when JobKeeper will end for Kingswim centres? Probably, again, I'm going to dismiss that because I think I've answered. And look, this next question, I'm sorry, I don't have the answer for it, but I'll read it out anyway. Have you heard when Bendigo swimming lessons may be starting? Thanks for keeping us updated. Look, Leon's taking a break, a well-deserved break for the next week or so. And Linda Freak is looking after that area. So if I could ask you to speak to Linda, but of course, we would like to get swimming lessons up in regional Victoria, albeit we hope this weekend this does not affect, in terms of any further lockdowns, regional Victoria, but we can't rule that out, that's not going to happen, because I'm not privy to the numbers of COVID cases in regional Victoria, unfortunately. So as soon as we can, we will. Okay, one for Shane. Thank goodness, it's not just a me. When does cyber awareness training start, Shane?
We're just finalising the configuration of it, and we'll be rolling it out in the next couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Another one for you. If you found profiles on the dark web, does that mean there's been previous breach?
No, not necessarily. The common way of collecting or harvesting profiles is phishing attempts. So the person's gone in and put in their details in something that they thought was quite legitimate, and it's collected those details and harvested them and stored them and put them up for sale. Oh,
here's a hard-hitting question for you, Shane. All good to have this new tech, but most YMCA computers and phone systems are over 10 years old.
I'll break that one down. Computer systems, if there is a 10-year-old computer system, please let me know, because it shouldn't be out there. In regards to the phone systems, we are actually looking at our telephony requirements at the moment, and we will be making some changes into the future around that. So it is something that is on the radar.
Okay, I've got 3 more and I've got 2 minutes, so I will read a couple of these out quickly. So, hi Carolyn, I guess it's just step by step, day by day. We will get through this by setting an example. Reach out to others if you are struggling. Stay strong, stay healthy, and stay home. From Jenny Hill. Thanks, Jenny. Carolyn, in our last webinar, you mentioned that the likelihood of JobKeeper being extended for the early sector was slim. And I'm just going to answer that first. I'm going to say I still think so, but I don't know. I really don't know. But today you have said there might be something for educators included in Thursday's government announcement. And yes, I do think that, but I'm not sure it's going to be JobKeeper. Does that mean that there have been some positive progress with government for EC educators? So what I will say is that we have a meeting, or Mel Kroll, who is the CEO of Australia, who works on all our advocacy around federal. She has a meeting on Tuesday where we're pleading our case one more time. We are really trying our hardest. If there's one thing I could do and wave a magic wand, it would be to give JobKeeper back to the Early Learning Centre people, but I just can't. I can't say that's going to happen, but we are trying our hardest is all I can say. So hopefully next Friday, I will at least be able to tell you with more definition about what is actually happening. I have answered this: do children's program staff need to wear a mask throughout the day? And the answer is no. We have a specific, the Department of Education have come up with a specific exemption around that. I'll just do one more because it's 4 o'clock. Shane, how do we stop members who have restarted their payment bookings, a large volume of places, and only attend a few? So how do we stop members who've restarted their payment bookings and they book in a large amount of places, but then only attend a few?
Yeah, that's a problem that we're aware of, in that we want to protect against that. And there's some working groups across the Rec Startup project that are working through some of the ways that we could be addressing those sort of issues. That's one of a few different issues, and we are aware of it, and we're looking at ways to address it at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. There is a couple of really quick ones. If I can't get onto YNet, what does that mean? That means you need to call the help desk.
Correct.
Shane, do you prefer Apple or PC? Last question.
Well, actually, I've got all those sort of devices. Being a techie, I've got almost one of everything. So, yeah, there's no real preference. I like both for different reasons.
And you knew that Shane was going to say that because he's a tech head and he just loves all tech. Anyway, thanks everybody for your questions this week. Look, I hope you're taking care of yourselves. It's been a particularly hard week last week and this week again. I once again encourage you all to keep following the government's advice around restrictions and remind others to do so as well. Please take care. And just a reminder that next week's update will be on Friday. So thanks, Shane, so much for joining me today. And I do apologise again for our glitch, and I will say goodbye for now. Bye.
Bye.